Warning, this video contains lore that may or may not be subjective. I have performed a lot of research to rate this video, but that does not mean everything in it is correct or canon. TS lore is confusing and difficult, so take everything here with a grain of salt. Thank you for your consideration, and please enjoy the video. Hello everybody, it's Infinity Break, coming at you today to bring you a special video. Today's video is not only special for its topic, but because this video will be the first of a two-part collaboration featuring one of my favorite Elder Scrolls channels on YouTube, Daft Take.
Hey guys, I'm Daft Take, or some of you may know me as Cueyo from Daft Take. The Daft Take channel is basically my attempt to take lore from various games and make it far more digestible than it may initially seem, with Elder Scrolls being a personal favorite. Besides that, however, I also make a few meme videos here and there, and other occasional things that I find funny or enjoy doing. So if you ever want to know about the entire plot of Morrowind in 30 seconds, or just want to be sold on merry propaganda for 10 minutes, I'm your man.
Today's video is on a topic I've been meaning to talk about for a while, and that is one of TES's biggest figures, Lorkhan. Lorkhan is one of, if not the most important figure in the history of the Elder Scrolls universe, having roots in its very beginning as well as its proposed ending. So let's talk about the architect of betrayal and true freedom, Lorkhan. Very much like our own universe, the TES universe began with nothing before something very bizarre took place. From the depths of the infinite and empty cosmos were two forces, one called Anu and the other Padume. Both forces set in motion the creation of the very basics of the TES universe by forming two souls. From Anu came Anuel and from Padume came Sithis. These two souls create a plane known as the Arubis, and from this place came two more souls birthed from the first two. These two new souls were figures you probably have already heard of. The first of which from Anuel being Auriel, and the second of which from Sithis was none other than Lorkhan. With Auriel's creation came the concept of time, and with time came stability and creation. Other beings formed known as the Etata, and the universe truly began to take shape. But whereas Auriel was created to form the concept of time and stability, Lorkhan was created to undo this stability, to revert existence to the chaos it originated from, but something changed along the way. Lorkhan, whose very creation was in spite of another's, had discovered something not long after his birth, something that pointed to the real reason that he and all those around him existed. And although we do not know exactly what gave Lorkhan this knowledge, some believe this story is oversimplified, and what actually happened is much more complex, involving the death of one known as Nier, as well as Anu and Padume being pushed out of time itself. But all we really do know is that it is believed Lorkhan had discovered the truth. The truth that the Elder Scrolls universe itself was nothing but a dream, containing both contents from this current dream and all the previous ones. With the revelation that creation was nothing but a dream headed by a being not even aware of his own dreams or their contents, Lorkhan had learned a way to undo this truth in a way more acceptable to him. He then began a plan to trick all those around him to create a plane known as Mundus. This place was promised to be a better alternative to the planes of Aetherius and Oblivion which had spawned in the time between creation and now. These planes were possibly formed from the conflicts and intermingling of Anu and Padume, but it is hard to say for certain how they were formed. Lorkhan had promised Mundus to be a place in which all the Etata could create as they saw fit, a place they could say was theirs and no one else's, the perfect plane for them, unlike the planes formed from conflict and intermingling, which by comparison would seem obsolete. And with this proposal, the Etata began creation with Lorkhan as their mastermind and others like Magnus who served as the architect. But soon enough, the lies that Lorkhan told would be realized, as those who began construction lost their power, and when this was realized, panic erupted. Those who still had their power fled in a great hurry, ripping holes in the sky. The first of those to flee was Magnus, whose fleeing formed the sun, and those who followed formed the stars around it. Those who remained were too weak to leave and sought revenge on Lorkhan, waging conflict on him until the convention had occurred. At the convention, some stories have said that Lorkhan had his heart forcefully ripped out. Others say he willingly ripped out his own heart from his chest, throwing it at the feet of those who sought it. Regardless, when Auriel tried to destroy it, he laughed at him, saying, "This heart is the heart of the world, for one was made to satisfy the other." Frustrated, Auriel fastened the heart to an arrow and flung it into the sea, where Morrowind would form around it, setting in motion the possibilities of others obtaining it further down the road. With this over, the beings of Mundus were trapped and would eventually become mortals, becoming the men, mer, and beast folk we have all become accustomed to. And while it is said Auriel would return to the heavens sometime after his death, many speculate this concept and even question it, for perhaps there is more here than meets the eye. Regardless, at this point, Mundus, the mortal plane, is now created, and the story of the Elder Scrolls universe as we know it begins, and Lorkhan's plan will now begin in earnest. The universe of TES can be seen as a wheel, with Nirn at the center, the planets around it representing the Divines, and the outer sections of it being the various planes of Oblivion. The planes of Oblivion are ruled by princes. These princes have no apparent ruler, but there is one, a king if you will, the Godhead. Ever since he discovered the truth, Lorkhan's plan for the universe was to replace the Godhead, the Dreamer, the one whose dreams make up the fabric of reality. To do this, he wanted to make a place of limits where nothing is certain and everything seems finite. By doing this, people could break those limits and become much more than they originally were. Mundus is that place, a place with limits and freedom for anyone to break those limits and become gods if they so desire. Just look towards the Tribunal of Morrowind or even Tiber Septim, who became Talos, the Ninth Divine. Both these examples found ways around the limits imposed upon them and impacted history in a great way, defying nations and even Dacia directly. How did they do this? Well, while the Tribunal technically cheated with the Heart of Lorkhan, one of the three members, Vivek, managed to live on by achieving something known as Chim. This is also the case for Tiber Septim, who had also achieved Chim. But what is Chim? Chim is what happens when you recognize that the universe is nothing but a dream and break free from the known laws and corruptions of Oblivion. At least, this is one way of understanding it. Chim is a very complex topic in the Elder Scrolls universe, and while there are many ways to understand it, one thing is certain: achieving it is necessary to become the Amaranth, the one who will usurp the dream and become the new dreamer. They say that Lorkhan, after discovering the truth of the universe, failed in his understanding of Chim on purpose, so that others would know how to avoid failing Chim and have a greater chance of becoming the Amaranth. And with this, even though Lorkhan had disappeared, seemingly killed at the convention after the creation of Mundus, this plan, a plan to make an Amaranth, a plan to crown a new king, had seemingly already taken root, and the consequences of Lorkhan's plan would rear their ugly head with the eventual end of the world.
And so, this wasn't the end of Lorkhan, nor the end of his influence, as even when the god lay broken, his mission to push forward all creation to escape the void, and hence create their own dream, would only ever come closer and closer to completion. The process by which this was done, however, isn't an easy one to cover, nor is it one that has villains and heroes. Rather, the story by which the inhabitants of the mortal plane would escape their prison would be one of many generations, people, and ultimately games. As with the fall of the towers would also come the fall of the Orbic Wheel, and with the wheel being shattered, Numidium would awaken, free from its prison of time and powered by a limitless source. This event would become known as Landfall, and would take place in the Fifth Era, marking not only the destruction of the planet of Nirn, but at the same time, creating an opportunity by which the mortals who inhabited the planet would be able to finally cast off their mortal chains and become something far greater than their individual parts. That story, however, is one that involves concepts far more complex than those presented already, and delves heavily into a variety of world-changing characters and events, all of which are of course bound by Landfall, and the being, Lorkhan, who began it all.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this video on the concept of Lorkhan, the true hero of the Elder Scrolls universe, is over. Now technically this video is continued over on the Daft Take channel, and I recommend every single one of you go watch that video, as I will be leaving a link down in the description if it is not recommended in your recommended videos. I recommend go checking that out because I will be in the very beginning of it. And also, thank you so much to Daft Take for working with me on this video. It has been an absolute pleasure working with you guys. I love your guys' channel, and I hope we can make more videos like this in the near future. To all of you who have watched to the end, thank you. I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope all of you have a nice day, night, evening, wherever and whenever you're at. Take it easy, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.